What if people could type in magical incantations into, say, a mysterious device, and it would do things that normal people couldn't do? Imagine if just knowing the right things to say gave you magical powers to accomplish things that other people couldn't. Would that not make that set of people in a separate class? Would they not ultimately, I guess, to some extent rule the world, or would they not, at least make a dramatic impact? I think they would. Everybody uses computers. We all know that, and they have to. But the people that program make the computers do whatever they want. They are the wizards, right? I'm going to teach you how to be a wizard to the extent that I can. We're going to learn the magic incantations, and yes, the computers will do things that you didn't previously know how to do and other people don't know how to do. There's both power and danger with it. When people don't understand what you can do, they will fear you. Isn't that kind of fun? And yet, on the other hand, you can impress them. You can show people, hey, look, I know how to make games. I know how this thing that you're using actually works. I think there's something extraordinary about that. So I feel it's really important to always start a lecture with a little motivation. That was my lecture, my motivation for today. I put together some game instructions. Let's make a game in Java. Here are some instructions that I'm planning to walk you through. This is sort of a little tutorial I put together, and we're going to build a video game. Let me first answer the question, why a video game, right? I mean, we just talked about how computers are changing the world. There's the internet, there's Facebook, there's government technology and open standards and satellites and iPhones and all these things going on. Why would we waste our time with a game? It's fun, yeah. In my opinion, if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. I mean, come on. But there's other reasons too. If you think about video games, things move, right? You have pictures that move. Well, imagine the most boring business software you can think of. Even still, it's kind of like pictures, right? Maybe the pictures are actually words, but there's you have to display stuff for the user. Games do that. Imagine any type of software you want. Somehow the user's got to express to the program what to do, right? You've got to tell your program, well, here's my tax information, or here's the data I want you to utilize. Video games do that too. Usually it's much more rapid action, wiggle the mouse, tap on the keyboards, but you're giving information to the machine to control it. And your controls go into some virtual world where it controls the little pictures. Essentially, a video game does everything that any other piece of software does, and usually to even a greater extent. So here's what I found. If you teach someone to make a video game, they can turn around and do almost anything. Plus, video games are fun. Therefore, I feel that video games are the perfect learning platform. If you learn how to make a video game, all of a sudden you realize it's not that hard to make a button that pushes in and out when you've already made a Mario that runs and jumps and shoots fireballs and goes through tubes and etc. And if you can already control a sophisticated game character, it's not that hard to enter numbers and so forth. So I think it's a good starting point. Here's how I view learning computer science. Let me just put together a really quick graph for you. Here's my whiteboard. We'll say this is knowing nothing and this is knowing a lot. And when you first get started, it kind of goes like that. And then it plateaus a little bit, and then it plateaus a little bit, and it never completely levels off, but it starts to, whoops, I went off the screen. This is kind of what it's like to learn computer science. And, well, you are all, I don't know where, we'll say right here. I'm just picking a point. Everybody here knows some things about computers. We all do. We live in a world full of them. But learning to program is hard, and it's really hard to get started. I'm sorry, I wish it weren't. But that's what I'm here to do, is to get you up this hard part, and then thereafter, you can keep climbing yourself. I would love to tell you that at the end of these 5 days, you will be a computer programmer. Anybody tells you that, they are lying to sell you a product. I'm sorry, I cannot make you a computer programmer in 5 days. Won't happen. But I can get you as far up this curve as I possibly can anyway, and maybe then you'll be able to take some time, be on your own. Suppose you spent an hour a day plugging away at just building something. Think about what would happen. Well, if you got over the hard part, maybe you could keep on climbing, and then all of a sudden you find you are a programmer, and suddenly you're teaching little Hogwartian students to become witches and wizards too, just like you. Okay, I'm going to kind of recommend you don't go waste your money on a book. Now, that's a bad recommendation in many ways. Here's why. A book is always there. It gives you step-by-step instructions. It helps hold your hand all the way through the learning process. If that's what you want, go do it. These days, though, I find that if you give students books, what happens is they learn exactly what's in the book, and they don't learn how to teach themselves. And you've got to learn, you have to teach them how to teach themselves. I can't teach, there's not enough time for me to teach you, so you have to teach yourself how to program as well. And therefore, I try to teach my students how to use Google. I think that's better, even though it's not as good as a book. In a weird way, because the book is so good, it's really bad. Now, you might really want a book. It might be worth your time to go step by step through how to learn Java, but maybe not. If you learn it the hard way, you'll learn it a lot better. That's the truth there. So I'm just going to say, here's a bunch of online learning tutorials, and the first question people are going to ask me is, well, which one's the best? And I just want to say that's the wrong answer. They're all bad in several ways. And you kind of need to go read them all, and then you're understanding what it's all about. If you just follow one, you're letting somebody hold your hand a little too much. So kind of, here's a whole bunch of resources on purpose, and yeah, it's going to take time to slog through them all, but that's the way to really become a programmer. That's the way to really master the content. And of course, this one at the top is my tutorial. I'm not claiming this is the best tutorial. I'm claiming it's just the one that's tailored to my teaching style. So that's why we're going to go through this one, this build a game instructions, because I think it's fun. Hopefully after that, you'll be over some of the hump, and then these tutorials will make more sense to you. And by the time you've gone through 3 or 4 of them, you'll start to realize, hey, I'm getting it all. I can program. This is easy. And that would be wonderful. Okay. There are many tutorials that will help you make a video game. Some of them require only 10 easy steps. How do they work? Well, they give some ready-made, almost complete pieces of a game and have you put them together. And what do you learn? You learn how to put 2 pieces together when people provide exactly what you want to build. And is anyone ever going to provide exactly what you want to build? Maybe. If they do, you're not building anything interesting, though, right? You can build anything in Java. Java is a real programming language in that real companies build real software and make real money with it. So if you can write a game in Java from scratch, I claim you can do anything. Therefore, I'm going to teach you Java, and then, hey, no limits, no shackles, nothing's been provided for you. We're going to really do it all bare bones from the ground up, and then hopefully you really know what's going on. Okay, without further ado, let's do some programming. Sound fun? Okay. Please, if you would, click on Game Instructions, and let's make a game in Java. Okay, here's my instruction style. I give you a whole bunch of instructions, and I've got the answers after every single one. And you can just click there to see all the answers. So I'm being really easy on you. A lot of people learn, and especially programmers, they tend to learn from examples better than from instruction, is my experience. I learn from examples. I like examples. So I think this is a good way to learn. If you can, remember, this is a steep learning curve. Try to do it without clicking on see the instructions. You know, just press yourself a little bit, see if you can do it, and then look at the examples if you need to, and I think you'll learn more that way. Let's start with step 1. Make sure you have a recent version of the JDK. Has anybody heard of the Java Development Kit? Basically, that's a package that comes with all that you need to develop in Java. Okay, there are 2 major packages you can get of Java. One of them is the JRE and the JDK. This stands for the Java Runtime Environment. And this is the Java Development Kit. What is the difference? Well, the Java Runtime Environment is what everybody that's not a programmer wants, and the JDK is what everybody that is a programmer wants. Long story short, the Java Runtime Environment follows your instructions. The JDK provides tools that allow you to build software, as well as the JRE. So the JRE is inside the JDK. You want the JDK, now you know, and let's go ahead and get that. I believe you all have it already installed on your computer, and it's already hooked up to the IDE. So I'm just telling you this, assuming you had a blank machine and you were just getting started from scratch. But we've set this up for you, so we'll just kind of move on. Next thing, let's please install NetBeans and open that on your machine. It's already set up for you, so it's going to look like this. This is NetBeans. Oh, and I still have some things left over from last year, which I'm going to delete. Goodbye. Okay, so here we go. This is a blank slate of NetBeans. Let me tell you about NetBeans. NetBeans is what's called an IDE. That stands for a Integrated Development Environment. Has anybody heard that term before? Okay, long story short, it's a big pile of tools that help you develop. The JDK doesn't really have an IDE in it, so you kind of need both of those things to really start developing in Java. A hardcore programmer does not need an integrated development environment. I like to program in Notepad. All you really need is a text editor and a compiler. A compiler is something that does come with the JDK, and you can hack away and start compiling. The IDE is kind of nice in that it provides you with all the tools in little windows. They're all kind of there in front of you, and it sort of holds your hand while you're developing. So we're going to use an IDE. It makes life a little bit easier. But it's not the only way to program, just so you're aware of that. Okay. Computer's an instruction following machine. You write instructions, it does them. Well, okay, I skipped this. Let's start a new project. Let's call it Grid. Would you please, with me, open your NetBeans program. We're going to click on File and click on New Project. Now we have here, New Project. It says Choose a Project, and I have the options to make a Java project, a NetBeans module, or a whole bunch of samples. I'm going to choose Java, and over here on the right, I'm going to click a Java application. I'm going to click on Next. And up here at the top, it's going to be called Java Application 19. Apparently, this would be the 19th project I've started in NetBeans. Let's rename it. I'm going to call this Grid because that's what my instructions say to call it. You can call it anything in the world that you want. I'm just giving a name to this project that we're going to make. Okay. It asks for a project location. Doesn't really matter where you put it. Let's see. Mine says the project folder already exists and is not empty. That's because I've done this before. I'm going to actually call mine Grid 2 just so that I get around that problem. Yours probably doesn't. You can go ahead and call yours Grid. With me on that? Okay. I'm going to click Finish. We have now gone through the wizard, and it's going to start me off with a project.